There it is. Let's pray. Thank you, our Father, for letting us all come together. Thanks for letting us study this topic of redemption, the Old and the New Testament. And we pray that we might be able to see something a little bit differently, maybe open our eyes a little bit more about what Jesus has done. And for those who don't know Jesus, I pray this would be a comfortable place. We can all hang out and have conversations and think more deeply about biblical things, regardless of our belief systems. So you'll keep us curious and humble, and we'll give you the glory for that in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so here's where we're at. This is what we've done over the last week. We started off talking about what redemption is, right? That's, like redeeming a coupon or something like that. You redeem something in order to get something. I talked about Chuck E. Cheese, rolling the skee ball and redeeming all those little tickets that you get for a 19-cent squirt gun. You spent $93 for that 19-cent squirt gun. So that's the idea of redeeming. Like you're not purchasing something, but you're getting something. You're trading its value in some way. But I said, really, the word redeem, the way we should think about it is with the word repossession. Okay, or there is a recreation aspect too. Remember, as we talked about that up and down, uncreation, creation, uncreation, and recreation, that kind of thing. So that's what I'm trying to get us to see. So when we get into the New Testament, we'll be able to follow this repossession, recreation paradigm that's going to go all the way through here. So then we asked who owns humanity, and we concluded, we just the Bible seems to be pretty specific that God owns humanity. He made it, he owns it, it's his. But the problem is that there is a claim on humanity, right? Because humanity did stupid things, because they failed to live up to the expectations that God had for them to move the world in the direction. They were supposed to partner with God and go on this journey with him, and instead they failed to mature. They failed to create this. That's the Genesis 3 part, right? So there's now a claim on humanity that God has to do something about. So he's going to send a recreator or a repossessor, right? Or a rescuer or whatever. Somebody to come and help, right? It's going to be Noah. It's going to be Abraham. It's going to be, and we're going to walk through this kind of thing here. So we talked about Exodus and the Gaal, okay, that God Gaals us, or that he redeems us. This is, as he brings them through, as Moses comes, he's one of the rescuers, one of the Gaals, one of the repossessors. He comes and he pulls them out of Egypt. They were in exile, and he pulls them out. And then we talked about, we can probably go to Passover will be the next smartest one, right? So they go through the sea. Right before they go through the sea, that's that whole concept of repossessing, putting the blood on the posts and the door and all that stuff. This is saying, that Pharaoh no longer has claim. Okay, that we're setting ourselves apart from that. And the Jubilee idea, Padah, again, kind of the same concept here. Both of them work with the word lutron in the New Testament. That's the Greek word. Padah is to reset or to release. Something like that is what's happening with the Jubilee, right? Once the 50th year comes along, then everything is released. Everything's better. Everything's supposed to go back to the way it was. Somebody else had a claim on you. You were in debt slavery. You were in exile economically. And now everything goes back to the Edenic ideal. So it's gone down, and then it goes back up. Okay. And then we talked about the firstborn, that they are owed. God says all the firstborn are mine. That was an important concept to this. Okay, so he can redeem his firstborn by putting something else in their place. Again, that's that substitutionary idea. We talked about the city of refuge, how when they go into the city of refuge in order to escape their blood, they took blood accidentally, and they go there and they have to stay there. If the court case tells them that they're safe, they can stay there until the high priest dies. And when the high priest dies, we have again a reset or a restoration, a back to the Edenic ideal. That's the concept there. And then Deuteronomy 21 is where we left off last time. And that's a great passage. You can look at it if you want, or I can just summarize it real quick. There's a person that gets killed in Deuteronomy 21 in a field, and nobody knows who does it. And there's like, yeah, we don't know. It's just a dead person here. But the land is defiled, right? You're not supposed to kill. So that's the land has been messed up here. But there's no murderer to punish. So what they do instead is the closest town, they actually measure whichever is the closest town to that. They bring in a young heifer and they break its neck in a valley that has running water going through it, and they wash their hands over the animal and they pray and they confess their innocence and ask God not to hold this against them in any kind of way. And so what they do is they make atonement, right? The kafar.
Not weird. It's not weird at all.
It's not weird at all, is it? Yeah, I know.
It's weird.
But this is the way the blood guilt is removed from the community, right? There's a kafar, an atonement, something that it covers over in some way, or it's the means by which something is repossessed, is taken control of, or substituted, or redeemed, right? There's a transfer taking place there. And God is the one, of course, that provides that substitutionary part there. And he releases the community from any liability that it would have in that particular situation. So it's not about freeing. This is what's important about this Old Testament stuff. We're going to do Isaiah. We're going to do Ruth. We're going to do the Psalms. I think all today is my goal, right? But it's not, redemption is not freeing an individual from hell. All right. That's what we got to be careful of, that we just go ahead and grab right hold of the New Testament concepts that Paul's doing, and then we read that back on these understandings. They don't have any concept of hell. That's not something they would have thought too much about. The grave, for sure, right? They would have understood Sheol, but they would not have understood hell in the way that you currently understand it. So it's all about, in this particular passage, Deuteronomy 21, about bringing a substitute in for the whole community because of this unsolved blood guilt. So that's Deuteronomy 21. Okay. So that catches us up. I didn't do that Deuteronomy 21, but it was a really quick thing. That catches us up to where we were, more or less. And now we can keep going. So any things that we want to just kind of get out, because I just went real quick through that 10 minutes? Anything that didn't make sense here?
I just think of like Cain. I just want to add like Cain and Abel. I'm thinking of like there's that guilt, and like in Jude it talks about like the sons of Cain. I think it says the sons of Cain or something like that, or the curse of Cain, something like that.
Yeah.
But
yep.
My mind's is going to that one spot or other spots, but no questions.
Yeah. Cain and Abel's story, right? They're also trying to be the rescuer. Like they're trying to get back into that Edenic ideal. That's why the sacrifice is done. Generally, they say it's at the door, right? The sin is crouching at the door to come in. So a lot of scholars would say they're at the door to the temple, or the door to the gate to Eden. Temple, Eden equal the same thing. Big important concept we've got to get across, right? Anytime Eden's being talked about, we're talking about a temple. That's the concept. They're going into the sanctuary where God is. So they're trying, that's the whole goal, is to move back out of dispossession into repossession, into recreation, to get back to Eden. That's the plan of all of Scripture, to get us back to Eden, which is cool how Revelation ends, but with the trees and the rivers and all that stuff, that's just the same way Genesis starts off.
What I find interesting is that Joni Mitchell's Woodstock mentions getting back to the garden.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I've used that in a sermon. I sung it at the end. We've got to make our way back into the garden.
I think that more is Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, but yeah.
Yeah, it is Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. That one, yep.
Well, Iron Butterflies in-A-Gadda Da Vida is a corruption of In the Garden of Eden.
Is it really? Wait, yes. What?
God of Da Vida, yeah. Say it again, Jay.
It's a corruption of In the Garden of Eden.
I had no idea.
There's a Simpsons episode that they do that on.
Inagata baby. Gonna tell you always. All right. Huh. That's good information. I feel like I've learned something. I'm good. We can just close it down right now.
Wow. I was gonna say you can tell what generation mostly is here.
Yeah.
Poetry.
Well, I knew Inagata Davida though, so I'll take that one. But yes, I
Okay.
didn't know the other ones. That is an older generation too for me. My dad loved Iron Butterfly.
It makes me think of the Sin Eater idea.
Oh yeah, Sin Eater. Okay, keep going.
So it's I'm going to show how hick my family really is. But when somebody would die, I think like Appalachian area, you put bread and water on their chest, and that absorbs any unconfessed sin they have, and then somebody comes along and eats that so that the deceased person can continue into the afterlife.
Interesting.
Without issue. And then normally the person may come and do this for every family in the cove whose people die, but they live out in the wilderness, ostracized from everybody. And in some communities, it traded out every so often. So like if you should have been in jail, you could be a sin eater for a year or 3 years and serve your sentence.
Huh. Wait,
yeah.
Can you just who's eating? So people are what are they eating?
The bread.
I was gonna say, how is this not a movie yet?
There might be a movie. I don't know.
I've seen it on what was that show? Outlander.
Yes. So it started like British Isles, weird voodoo-y weirdness. And then so the bread and the water go on top of the deceased person because you lay them out for days for everybody to come wail over them, right?
So they're not eating the dead person, they're eating the bread
No,
and
no,
water.
no.
Yeah.
But at some point
Thank
the
you.
sin is absorbed into the bread, and then somebody eats the bread and all the sin passes to that person.
Okay.
So
But what
Jesus
says,
Christ, I'm just like,
take, eat, this is my body.
There's the goat in the wilderness, and there's like, I mean, it's just taken all kinds of religious ideas and went like this. But that's the first thing that came to mind when I was listening to you.
All right.
So we've got rock songs and sin eaters. There.
That should be the title of this one. Make it happen, Sarah. Rock songs and sin eaters. Okay, I don't know really where to go from that, so I'm just going to jump into Ruth now.
Isaiah. Oh no, Isaiah. Or no, Ruth. Okay.
We'll start with Ruth. Ruth comes before Isaiah, so we'll do that one first. All right.
Depends on whose Bible you got.
That's okay. Wait, where's Ruth in the Hebrew Bible?
Trying to remember.
I think it's after Proverbs, so it's still before Isaiah. It's either after Proverbs or it's after Judges. So those are your two spots. Okay. Anyway, so Ruth, we all know the story of Ruth. Like, if you've been to church, this is like the story, even if you've never preached a sermon on it or anything like that. People just know the story. It's a love story, right? So chapter 1, you guys tell me the story. How does it start off? Somebody give me like the first chapter or so. Even if you don't know exactly what the first chapter is, the beginning, the intro.
Of Ruth, they go to Midian, right? Because there's a famine. Am I right?
I think they're in Moab. Yep.
Moab. They go to Moab because
close.
there's a famine, and then Naomi's husband dies, and then her sons, who are old enough to have married, die, and she says to Ruth and Orpha or whatever, "Go back to your people. I'm releasing you." And Ruth says, "No, I'll go with you," and she goes back to wherever it is she came from in Israel.
Bethlehem.
Okay.
Bethlehem. That's what I was going to say, and then I thought I was going to be wrong. So
yeah, the house of bread. Yes.
Yes.
The famine for some reason. Yeah. Okay. So, and she, Naomi, who's like, what is it? Delightful or something like that. I think is sweet delight or something like that is what you call her. But she says, no, don't call me Naomi anymore. Call me
Mara.
So it's bitter, right?
Bitter.
So it's all been taken away from her, right? So she's just gone down. There's been like an uncreation in her life. Literally the three people that would take care of her are now gone. So now she is a widow, and she has no children. Like there's nothing. She's quote barren in this text, and she's a widow. And so there's no hope for anything to happen for her. But of course, somewhere in there, in the midst of all this famine and this migration away and all this taking place, now they're coming back to Bethlehem, and they figure some things out, right? What do they determine? Obviously, Ruth's coming back. We skipped that part, right? Ruth's going to go back with her. Your people will be my people. That's pretty important to the whole story, right? Covenant loyalty, the chesed that she's going to have for Naomi is going to be really significant to the chesed that Boaz is going to have for her later on. I got to already spoil the story if you don't know it. All right, so they're going to determine what?
Naomi has a kinsman redeemer.
Yep.
Kinsman redeemer, right? So again, we've got the Gaal,
Joel.
right? Or yes, in that particular form, he's not Gaal. He is Gaaling, so he is a Goel.
Yeah.
All right, or a kinsman redeemer. So what is this? What's a kinsman redeemer? And I don't need all the details because no scholar understands the details. People have tried for generations to try and understand what exactly is going on here, but give me the big picture idea. What's a redeemer supposed to do? It's from Leviticus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back to Leviticus will give you the rules of what's happening there. Leviticus 25, if a relative becomes poor and sells land, the nearest redeemer, Goel, may redeem it. So you can redeem a member from debt servitude. Okay, that's what Leviticus 25 is all about. So it's supposed to be whoever the closest family member is, there's some sort of covenant responsibility for them to redeem you from your private exile. Okay, so you've been isolated. You can't live in the Edenic land, right? Because things aren't good for you. You've been decreated, and their job is to pull you back out of that and give hope for this family who used to have land but is now too poor to be able to have their own land anymore. They've had to basically sell it in order to survive. So, or possibly the land has been unused for all the years that they were in Moab. It's just been sitting there. We don't know exactly what's happened to it, but in order to get it back, the Goel is supposed to marry Ruth, and that name will be given to her children. Right? That's so, and then they'll get to keep the land. So basically, he's going to borrow the land for a really long time. That's what we think. Going to borrow it until those kids are old enough, and then it'll become their land. So it's an inconvenience for him, but that's what's happening. He's the Goel in this situation. So in order to make that happen, somewhere in the middle of the book, Ruth 3 or something like that, Ruth heads down to the threshing floor. Remember this?
Mm-hmm.
Go into the threshing floor and don't want to get married, right? So they're heading down there, or maybe they're not going to get married, but you know what's going to happen on the threshing floor. We don't know. Anyway, it's dark. People are drunk. You can figure out what's happening, right? So she goes down to the threshing floor. She says, put your cloak over me, probably symbolic of either, as some scholars would say, sexual union, or as some sort of a promise, like a covenantal, like throw salt over your shoulder or hand a sandal to somebody. Those promises that I will redeem you, which seems a little more likely to me because the next part is him doing the action of redeeming, like he's starting to do that. But if there is sexual union taking place there, you just got to realize their world is very different than ours, right? So that would have been part of the whole action if that's the case. It wouldn't be Ruth as like a bad person or anything. Or they're just like, ooh, we're just two horny teenagers. That's not what's going on here. This is a covenantally loyal move. It's a good move, whatever's happening. So that's the Goel. But of course, there's a problem. What's the problem?
A closer kinsman redeemer.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think his name is Palmoni Amoni or something like that. Palomi Amoni, which just means like so-and-so, or hey you, or what's his name, right? So we never get his name, right? You're not supposed to get his name because he's kind of been shamed in this story because this closer relative, well, what does he say? Yeah, I'll take care of my covenant loyalty. I'll do it. Thank you, Riston,
Huh?
for giving. No, he says, no, I'm not going to do it. No,
Well,
thank
he
you.
says, yeah. He says yes, and he finds out the rest of the story. Oops.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. You want the land? Oh, I'll take the land. Oh, well, you got to marry the widow. Yeah, the problem here, you got to marry the widow and all our kids. Yeah, never mind. I'm not interested in that. So Boaz jumps in, which is, an inconvenience for him, a financial, at least concern possibly, but he does it anyway and seems very content to do it. So he shows chesed to her as she showed chesed to Naomi, right? And so the story continues. He gives all of the crops and stuff like that, and everything is really good. And then Ruth and Boaz have a baby, and his name is, come on, trivia people.
Is it Obed?
Obed, good job. Yep, Obed. And Obed has a baby, and his name is
Jesse.
Good. And Jesse has a baby, and his name is
David.
David, yes.
David
wins the square there at the end. Good job, everybody. Right, and this is the king, and more than likely, this is a story, an etiology made to get, at the end, thrown on there to give David this kind of story. We don't have any idea, but the story is one story for a really long time, and then the surprise at the end. It's David's great grandmother. What? This is awesome. Right. That's the way the story is supposed to work. So, what does the Goel add to our understanding as we read it in Ruth?
Well, that outsiders are in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, which is Ruth's, I think, main purpose in writing Ruth, I think.
Yeah.
That outsiders are in. Moabites are allowed in the monarchy. So I would say it's probably written during the Davidic monarchy, or right after it, or something like that. Yep.
Redefining who's redeemable.
Okay. Yeah, the question of who is redeemable, even Moabites. Yeah.
Even me.
Even me. Yeah.
Which kind of speaks to the purpose for Israel being where it is to spread the message of God.
Yep. I'm okay with that. Yep. I mean, that's been the goal of Israel since the beginning, right? Sorry, Lori, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I noticed a pattern. You talked about the firstborn, but quite often in these stories, it's a secondborn that actually gets everything. And this is the guy that should have been the redeemer wasn't. So that ended up being the next closest. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. That's
it does.
great.
It's very interesting. I wonder if it was intentional. I mean, we can see it for sure intentionally in Genesis. Like, that couldn't be any clearer that they keep doing that. And again, with that pattern that's showing up, that constantly, that up and down creation, uncreation story. I wonder if the author of Ruth is trying to do that. That's kind of
to thicken that plot a little bit. I know Cain, even though he's a secondborn, he gets like some kind of protection still after he does this too by God, which is kind of weird to me, but I don't want to go down that rabbit trail. Yeah.
Is Cain the secondborn?
Is he? Yeah, I thought he was. Yeah. Is that right?
No, he was the firstborn.
He's the first. Oh, you're right. Sorry. Never mind. So it was Abel.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
See, he created all that problem, so that's why God went to the secondborn.
Yeah.
There,
I'm off on my trivia. But
actually, our thirdborn, right? Seth. Yeah. Or the new secondborn that ends up getting the prize. Yeah. Okay. All right. So again, just another hop in the puzzle, right? To get to Isaiah, to get to Psalms. Because Isaiah and Psalms, now what's going to happen is you're going to start to see, instead of physical people seem to be the redeemers, now they're going to start taking this metaphor of redeemer and applying it to God in a much more open and obvious way. That God is the one who redeems, which is super cool. Mm-hmm. So Isaiah, once you get to second Isaiah, that's where it really all shows up. So first Isaiah is 1 through 39. And if you're like most people, you have no idea what first or second or third Isaiah is about. So just you remember that, virgin was born in chapter 7. You remember maybe chapter 6, holy, holy, holy. If I tell you, you'll remember it. You might remember chapter 9, wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. You might remember, I don't know, maybe 36 through 39 with Hezekiah.
What about 11?
I don't know. Do you remember Isaiah chapter 11?
Yeah, the shoot will spring up from the stem of Jesse.
Yeah, good job. Okay.
It says it. Yeah.
That's a good one. All right. But no one knows like the politics of what's going on. I don't mean no one knows. I'm sure a few of you definitely know. But we don't know exactly what's going on through this whole thing. But this is where the redemption language is going to come in. So remember our Exodus language. God says he's going to redeem. So we do have God saying he's going to redeem Israel from slavery. I'm going to pull you out. I'm going to repossess you. You're the claim. You've allowed the powers to take over, right? In that particular instance, it's Pharaoh. They've allowed Pharaoh to do that. But there's darker forces beyond all that, right? Because when God does battle, he doesn't really do battle with Pharaoh. He does battle with the gods of Pharaoh in that story. So the dark powers seem to have control, but he's going to redeem them from slavery. The blood on the doorposts are going to protect Israel from death. All that's going on. And then in Isaiah chapter 43, it's going to say, I have redeemed you. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. Okay, so all the way up through 39, we've got this major crisis. Israel is in political failure. Okay, it's a mess. They have the covenant is a disaster. They have not followed God. Like that's the normal story of Israel. Political instability and looming exile. And then the looming exile becomes the exile, right? So the northern kingdom, Israel, is exiled out. Judah's still here. Remember, remember our map here. We've got Israel up here. We got Judah down here. Okay, we've got Assyria / Babylon over here. It's the same empire, same basic area. All this is the empire, and it's moving this way. And so they come over and they take care. Assyria has pulled them out, exiled them. And so that's all the problem of what's going on in Isaiah chapter 7. It's why they ask for a sign. It's why Isaiah says, a virgin shall conceive and bear, and they shall call his name Maharshal Hashbaz, not Jesus. Right? All that stuff is happening in chapter 8, and then chapter 9, wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father. All that's taking place. So the people of God have rebelled, and now God is judging them. And then in chapter 36 through 39, Assyria and Hezekiah is afraid of Assyria. And Hezekiah flirts with Babylon, showing them all how great things are there. So Hezekiah is in trouble, and Babylon is announced, but they're going to take Judah. Okay, so that's basically what first Isaiah is about. Then we get to chapter 40, and second Isaiah begins, and that's where you get those words of comfort.
Yep.
Comfort ye, my people. Comfort, comfort. Right? Peace. Like it's coming. It's all going to be good. The people have completed their hard service. Their sin has been dealt with. Hope is on the horizon. Everything's going to be good, wonderful. So everything shifts from judgment to hope, to restoration. There's a complete change in the way everything happens. The way of Yahweh is prepared in chapter 40. God's going to come as a shepherd, a strong deliverer, all in chapter 40. Basically, what we have is a new Exodus. Okay, so everything has gone down. And what we have is really tohu vabohu here. And now, in chapter 40, there's a promise of hope. Tohu vabohu, chaos and wilderness and waste and that kind of mess down there. Okay, but chapter 40 and onward, it's coming back up. And chapter 43 is this really clear redemption text. God says, I've created the people. I've formed them out of my own hand. I've redeemed them. I've called them by name. They belong to me. it's a beautiful, beautiful passage. 43. We just like, so comforting to us personally, even though it's not about us personally. It's about Israel, its people. But there's fire and there's water imagery, and God is with his people through all this danger that's coming. He's going to make the way through and see all that Exodus language is all going to come back really heavily. So possession and protection. He's not just rescuing people from a place, he's reclaiming them as his own people. They were not my people. Now they will be my people. Okay, that's the great joy. That's what chapter 8 has changed everything. Or chapter 8 is, that's where we're, no, they're not going to be, it's not going to be, there's going to be hope, hopefully. Chapter 40 is now on the rise, everything is happening. And when you get all the way to chapter 54, Israel is going to start to look like a woman. Okay, that's how they're going to portray Israel. So now this female Israel is coming. She's barren, she's widowed, she's rejected. Sound familiar? To the Ruth story at least, but also to all the other stories that we know. So this is highly symbolic language for Israel being in exile. Barren, widowed, rejected, on their own, no hopes for the future, people feeling cut off, filled with shame, and yet this redeemed woman, as 53 says, will sing again. That's the great news. She's going to sing again because her Redeemer is Yahweh. Yahweh is the Redeemer. So that's chapter 53, or that's 53, 54. We're moving past that. I think I said 53, but it was 43 and 54.
54, yeah.
Those of you who are looking at Dave, I can see David reading that, and I'm like, 54. That's what I meant to say.
Can you give us a reason why the language changes, and also it's what scholars call second Isaiah? Why that changes? Is it because 1 through 39 is first Isaiah, and then second Isaiah is 40 through, I believe, 50? Is it 55 or 56?
Yeah, 55, and then 56.
And right. Section. Can you give us just a real quick, like, why is it the language changing? Why is it second Isaiah?
Yeah. For the three nerds you're all on this screen, so you're all nerds. Yeah. But I don't want to spend too much time on this. It's complicated to try and figure this out. But basically, scholars see a general unity between the whole book, but they think that this would have been written at 3 different times based on the time period, the length of the time period that takes place here, that you've got something really early and really late. One person's not going to live through all of that. So one person didn't write it all. So they suggest 3 people or 3 schools that would have written these things. And you can tell by the language.
Yeah, that's right.
The language changes. And you can tell because there's more information gained in the second Isaiah than there was in first Isaiah. First Isaiah didn't know about some of these things. Now, all of a sudden, a lot's changed. It's a time change. It's been years have gone by. Boom, we're really happy now. So if years have gone by, this is the next section, and then the last section. So that's the basics of it. I've asked one of my buddies to come on, who's an Isaiah scholar, and he keeps promising to come on. So I just need to push him again. He starts teaching classes in July, so he's probably really busy right now. But just stopped being a pastor. He just got hired at Calvin Seminary, which is the coolest thing ever.
That's cool.
So one of my best.
Hey,
buddies.
if I may, just real quick, this sci-fi image came to my mind where kind of like the Book of Eli with Denzel Washington, but instead there's 3 videotapes, right? And the first part is Isaiah 1, and the second part is Isaiah 2. So you have to watch them all, but they're all telling the same redemptive thematic story, but they're 3 different authors of a continuous thread, right?
That's good. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. So definitely a unity, but I mean, in the same sense that the Bible is a unity in some ways, right? There's a big unity, but there's also obviously different times, epochs, eras that go through there.
Sounds like Trinity.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Just kidding. Trinity foreshadowing.
Yeah, but it's 3. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to go there. I know your case. But a unity and singular, like there's both at the same time. So I can go with that. So that's okay. That part's good. All right. So how does Goel function here? Now that we know the Isaiah story more or less in the quick version of it, how does Goel function here?
It's a representative of who God's character or what God's character is.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's forgiving.
Right, and that's the key, right? God is the one.
I think it might be Exodus 37 or something like that, where it gives you like a definitive, like, this is who God is. This is,
yeah. Yep. Yeah, so God's redeeming from exile. He's redeeming from death. He's redeeming from shame. He's redeeming from abandonment. All of this is the same basic way of thinking about it, right? So if I say redeeming from death, I mean redeeming from exile. And I mean redeeming from abandonment.
From away from God's presence, right? Because that's life. That's the temple. It's Eden. It's all that. It's good.
Does that make sense? Because this is something that we've done here for years. So some people might real quickly figure that out, but other people might not be catching what's happening here. That's pretty significant. So death, exile, abandonment, shame. Think of these in the same, they're not the same word. They don't mean the same thing. But metaphorically, you got to put these ideas together. That when they're exiled from the garden, right, they've been kicked out of the temple or out of the land. They've been abandoned. God is staying with his temple in some cases. In some cases, he leaves his temple, right, and he goes with them into exile. Just depends on which book you read. But,
Ezekiel.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, but they've been abandoned. They've been shamed. They've been, they're dead. So because they trespassed against what God called them to, because they didn't go on the journey with him to be a kingdom of priests. So now they're dead. They're not in the presence of God. So death is there. So all along, you're going to see like all of these chthonic deities that are going to show up from Genesis all the way on. Chthonic just means death. And I think some people are calling it Chthonian now. I don't like that as much. I like chthonic. But chthonic deities, these death deities that we did one of our last series on, right? We did a lot of the death deities in there. All these deities are like, Pharaoh would have had claim over him by these death deities. So would have Israel for a time. Okay, because they're in Egypt.
This is the curse
from God. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the consequence. Wages of sin. Yeah, the consequences of sin is death.
That's right. The wages of sin is death. Okay, that's very important, right? Because when we get to Romans, you're going to be thinking the wages of my personal sin. When I did this, I had sex before marriage. Oh my goodness, evangelicals, everybody, right?
Sorry,
don't do that. But still, there's a reason for purity. I'm just saying that's what you immediately think about. But what you should be thinking about is Israel didn't live up to their call to be a kingdom of priests. And so they were exiled out. They were moved on, that they died. Okay. And the hope is, right? David just spoke about Ezekiel. The hope is that there's going to be a new heart, right? There's going to be a new heart, not of stone anymore, but of flesh. And that the dead bones will start getting up. Okay. Again, that's not about you and your heart. It's about Israel being restored to its rightful place, to who it's supposed to be under God. That's been the whole plan. So when Paul's going to grab hold of this language, don't immediately think, okay, Romans 7 is about me and what I do want to do, I don't do. And what I do, I don't, that whole thing. No, think Israel's problem. This is Israel's problem. He's dealing with an Israel problem, not an individual problem. Now he's going to trade it in. He's going to make a move towards you. Okay, but you can't grasp that move towards yourself. We're not even there yet, I know. But you can't make that move to yourself without understanding how the redemption works in the Old Testament. Or else you're just going to say, Jesus saved me from my sins. Okay, and you're going to miss the plot, the bigger story of what the gospel comes to do, to restore everything, to release you from your abandonment, from your guilt. So when Jesus says, is it better that I forgive sins or that I say, stand up and walk? You're going to start to make some connections here, right? He could just say, I forgive you. But forgiveness is about releasing you from your bondage. And lame legs and blind eyes is putting yourself under the claim of the gods, right? You're putting yourself, and he's going to redeem you. He's going to pull you out. He's going to reconcile you to himself. Does that, I get a little excited, I know. Does that make sense, or does that change? At least Riston's got a big old smile, so this is good. All right, Sharon, Brad, I see something.
I have a question.
All right, go ahead, Carly.
I'm not working, buddy. I'm having Bible study, and you gotta wait. Sorry, it's bedtime. The things that come back to life, the heart of flesh and the bones, do you think it's intentional that those are parts of the body that carry blood?
Mom, can I ask you something?
I know in a way that all of our body has blood, but marrow, the blood cells are made inside the bones, and the heart is what moves the blood through the body. And eventually the atonement is the blood of Jesus. I know it's hundreds of years later. I just wonder, if that's intentional.
I think I would say that is a fun preaching way to do it, and I would have no problem doing something like that. I don't think the authors of this text would have had a clue what you're talking about.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
they wouldn't have had the science for it, for sure.
That's right.
Maybe the heart, but yeah, they wouldn't have had the scientific knowledge, I wouldn't imagine, to piece all that together.
But blood is very important to life for them.
It is,
right?
and for sacrifice.
That is the significance for them.
Right?
Yeah.
For there has to be blood from the animals. You're fine too. Oh my gosh, everyone is needy. I was just curious.
Yeah.
It's also big on purity. You can't, the woman who's going through a menstrual cycle or there's blood in the, it's the opposite too. So it's this interesting, anyways. I wanted to add something to your comment about this new perspective on Paul. This is it's not individual salvation, since we're kind of coming out of that in Ephesians 3:10, it talks about the purpose of the church. And I think this gives us the idea of what we're saved for. It says, so that the manifold wisdom of God might now be made known through the church. And so this idea of
Ephesians 3.
Yeah, it's great. This is it. I'm excited about the same thing. It's well, you want to have purpose and meaning in life. You don't want to be dead. And I think the other thing I wanted to add is that the idea of, when I work with humans, a lot of humans who are depressed, addicted, whatever it is that they're going through, they all seem to have abandonment issues rooted in fear of being abandoned. And I can't help but think of this this theme, right? It's just interwoven, and so it's right here, and it's also just theoretically it's here. And so if you want to be the theoretician, there it is. But if you want to be the practitioner, it's real. It's this is what we have. Why? Well, here you go. This is it. This is the answer. It's the key that unlocks. It's like the Philosopher's Stone there, Travel. It's the key that unlocks all the doors. Let's go.
That is a really good practical connection, and something we should remember as humans, because the humans that you take care of there, right? That we all feel that sometimes, that abandonment or that rejection or that isolation or that exile. And some feel it a lot more than others. And what do we do in order to help them belong? I mean, isn't that kind of the point of the church, just a large degree? How do we bring them in so that they'll belong? And so they won't have that fear of abandonment. We're here no matter what. I mean, there are consequences to your whatever things you do, but we're here. We're going to love you no matter what. Man, that's really good.
I think if love is the currency of the kingdom, that fear is the currency of the darkness. And so just like Pharaoh was subject to whatever death god, I think the most common one now that we as humans, especially in the developed world, subject ourselves to would be fear. And we know what fear does to the body. I have no problem saying that fear could be a death god, because when you stay afraid, your nervous system just tanks and everything goes down. But when it takes actual connection typically to override that fear in anybody. Yeah. Which I think is what the church is supposed to do. It's that connection. It's that embodied, incarnate, relationship with people. That acceptance that, again, choices have consequences, but the consequence is never abandonment.
Not only acceptance, but reaching out and helping.
Yes.
And getting out there and meeting people's needs.
Right. And Lori, I think the biggest fear I was going to add to that is people are afraid of the outsider, the person that's not like them.
Yeah.
And the key, and like the one thing that's just glaring is the left and the right, like politically polarized. Like when I get in the middle of that, I'm like, it's so much more nuanced. It's so much more gray. People are not so white and black and white. I just finished The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt, and he says the happiness is the in-between, the ability to see both sides and somewhere live in between. But anyways, it's a freebie. I won't charge you guys for that one. Read The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt if you haven't. He's great.
Oh.
He's secular, though, and he's atheistic. Don't judge him.
Good. I was thinking when you were saying that, I think it's Timothy, perfect love casts out fear.
Yeah.
Right? I guess all of us were thinking about that. Yeah. And as you and Lori was saying, reaching out to, going out, just makes me just really grateful for people like Randall and David. Randall's not on here right now, but people who spend their time in hospitals in trying to conquer fear with love.
Mm-hmm.
That's the chaplain's job, right? To go around, because that's anybody who's in a hospital is probably afraid. At least someday. Yeah. They're feeling a little bit abandoned, a little bit rejected, a little bit like this isn't fair. And some of them a lot. And some of them are literally dying. You can grab hold of somebody's hand and pray with them as they pass from one life into another. What an honor, and thank you for that. So we should all be involved in that, maybe not to the same degree. We're all chaplains in this world. All right, Psalms. Okay, I wanted to make sure I finished with Psalms, and I was excited to get into it. So, again, most Christians are thinking about redemption as just merely forgiveness. Okay, God has forgiven me. And the Psalms, I think, are going to show us a whole lot more than that. So I want to look at a bunch of little spots, just kind of bullet, just real quick. Remember that redemption is rescue. That's a fair thing to put it there. But it's more than rescue. It's repossession or reclaiming. Okay, he's the repo man. I think Brad brought that one up last time. Emilio Estevez and somebody else, I can't remember. You wrote me back and said. So this is the transfer of ownership. The gods, the powers, the darkness have us, and he reclaims. That's the idea. So Israel belongs to God, but then gets reclaimed. A claim is put on their life by Pharaoh. David belongs to God, but then he's constantly saying, my enemies are around me, all around me, right? There's that fear and that something has been put over him, or he's allowed something else to take over. Like Romans 1 is going to talk about, right? That we've given ourselves over to these other powers. Humanity belongs to God, but is enslaved to, if we're going to use Pauline language, to sin and to death. Okay, so these are all, they belong to something, and then they become enslaved. They belong to God. God owns things, and then things shift. We allow something else to take over. So redemption is all about God taking back what's his. I feel like I've said that in the 3 different sections, but I don't care. I'm going to keep trying to get that point across when we get to Paul. Redemption is God reclaiming his people from every power that seeks to own them. Okay? Lots of powers seek to own us.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Josh was talking about, the fear, 2 different political sides, right? This is what they do. They're just going to try and own us by saying fear. Oh, these people are bad. These people are bad. Oh no. Right. And so something owns us now. We're owned by this fear. So redemption begins in the Exodus, and great picture of redemption. And the Psalms are going to grab a hold of that picture all the time. They just keep reaching back Shimaki says there's a hyperlink rather, right? Or an allusion to something that's going on back there. So Psalm 77 is my first one. I'm just randomly pulling redemption texts at this point. Psalm 77, 14 through 15. In fact, to keep me from talking, somebody get that, or all of you get that if you want, but somebody say you're willing to read it, and then someone else get Psalm 106, 9 and 10.
I'll do the first one.
Nice. All right, Lori, you got 77, 14, and 15. Who's got 106, 9 to 10? Anybody got 106?
I'll get it.
All right, rest. Somebody else just pull up chapter 44. I'll get you there when we get there. Just get it close by. All right, because we're not going to spend a lot of time in these. I just want you to see what David, we'll just say David, so I don't have to argue about all the different little things at the front of each one of these chapters. So 77, 14, and 15.
Okay. You are the God who works wonders. You have displayed your might among the peoples. With your strong arm, you redeemed your people, the descendants of Jacob and Joseph. Selah.
Oh, nice. Yes. Selah. All right. So the psalmist here, David, is remembering, I don't know if it's David. The psalmist here remembers God's redemption of Israel from Egypt, which is going to be the constant thing. Okay. You're the God who works wonders, strength among the peoples. By your power, we've redeemed your people, sons of Jacob and Joseph, basically Israel. Okay. You've redeemed them. That's what he's going back and he's remembering. All right. So just keep it in your head. Okay. Chapter 106, 9 and 10.
He rebuked the Red Sea, and it became dry. He led them through the deep as through a desert. So he saved them from the hand of the foe and delivered them from the hand of the enemy.
Okay, so where's the word redeemed there? Probably.
Deliverance?
Delivered, yeah.
Maybe.
Right. So this is the word delivered. It's the same concept, right? He's freeing, he's loosing, he's reclaiming.
My mind went to, sorry, go ahead.
Is this verse 9, is Red Sea Rahav Egypt's dragon? Or am I just wishing it was?
Is the word, I don't have it in the Hebrew.
What the Hebrew is? I'll look it up.
Oh, yeah. David, are you looking at it in Hebrew right now?
I'll look at it. What verse?
106 verse 9.
Does it say Yam Suf or does it say Rahav?
Yam Suf.
Less fun, but cool.
Sorry, no dragon for you, but still, it still is going to have that picture, right? Because it's still a sea, a chaos monster that is attacking, and that God is using in order to attack the other chaos monster. So, which is Pharaoh, which is just beautiful. But if you weren't part of all those lessons, you're going to have to wait. So the language here is God is saving, God is redeeming, God is rescuing from the hand of the enemy. It's always the enemy. By the way, who's the enemy? Who's going to become the enemy as Scripture evolves?
Satan.
That's right. Right. The Satan is going to become the enemy. He is still an enemy in some of the texts, but later Old Testament. But certainly by the New Testament, he's equated more with Diablos, with the devil himself. He'll be the enemy. He'll be the picture of the chthonic beings.
My mind is still going to Carly's comment about the Appalachians and the Sin Eater, and then the word deliverance, and I'm just thinking
deliverance. Yeah, I went there too.
I'm sorry. I had to say it. I thank you, Lori. Thank you. We're there.
All right. So Israel is in Pharaoh's grip, and God is yanking them out. Right. The Exodus has become this model for all of future, all the future redemption that God will take care of. So it begins in the Exodus, and then it moves into this future hope. So that's Psalm 44, because now Israel is in exile themselves, just like they were in Exodus, in the book of Exodus, right? They're in exile. Now they're in exile again in Assyria/Babylon. Okay? And so what are they praying for? What are the songs going to be about? Get us the heck out of here. right? Like that's like we need a new Exodus. Okay, a new Exodus. Keep that language in your head, new Exodus, because Matthew and Luke are going to nail that like everywhere. New Exodus language all over the place. All right, but Psalm 44, how about just like 23 through 26?
I have it. If somebody else doesn't.
Go, Carly.
Okay, 23 to 26.
Yeah.
Wake up, O Lord. Why do you sleep? Get up. Do not reject us forever. Why do you look the other way? Why do you ignore our suffering and oppression? We collapse in the dust, lying face down in the dirt. Rise up, help us, ransom us because of your unfailing love.
Okay. Yeah, your unfailing love. You guys know that word?
Yes.
Good job. Yeah. I saw Riston mouthing it, and I heard David say it at the same time. That was pretty good. Yeah. So that's that word chesed again that you're going to find from Ruth. Right. All right. So, and you can see this progression, right? This is one of the most powerful redemption prayers. I haven't preached on this. I really should. It's such a redemption prayer in this in all of Scripture, I think. But there's this progression from oppression and exile and dust and death, like as you know, we're in a bad spot, and now we're abandoned, and now we're on our face in the dirt, and then that's become reality, right? We're dead, basically. Our body cleaves to the earth. Rise up, O God. Stop sleeping. Rise up, O God, and take care of us. Redeem us for the sake of your loving kindness, your chesed. So they need God to restore life itself. So again, when the New Testament's going to grab hold of this redemption word, this is what they're going to be thinking about. How do we restore life itself? And remember, Jesus is going to walk through town, and he's going to be doing that. Like he's literally going to be restoring life. Literally. This has all been metaphorical. So he's going to start changing it all around. He's going to say it's the year of Jubilee. Everything's starting over again. New plants are rising. Creation is happening. Aslan is singing. If you like Magician's Nephew kind of language, right? Everything is happening. It's blooming. Springtime forever. No more winter and the White Witch. Okay.
Can you remind me of the Hebrews concept of soul? Because it says
so the word soul for our soul has sunk down into the dust.
Yes, because I'm thinking. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's the word nephesh.
Nephesh.
Okay. Yes.
And nephesh, according to Bruce Waltke, who I think is one of the best Bible scholars, he taught me some of this stuff. He would say the word is actually appetite. But there's a lot there, but it's desire, it's life, right? Like
right.
That's what it is. It's just life. And we still use it that way, right? 300 souls died, 300 lives were lost on that ship or something like that. So that's the concept there. So don't think too heady, I think, about this. Like, our soul is separated from our body. Don't think bipartite or tripartite body parts. Just think this means life.
Right.
Restore my soul.
Wait.
Go ahead.
How can you handle that?
Anybody know what he said?
If you get rid of what?
You're breaking up, but we can hear you now.
Can you hear never mind. If I'm up, I don't want to waste anybody's time. It's okay.
No, talk, dude. We can hear you now. Can't do that.
You always bring up good points, Travis. We need to hear it. Go.
Oh no! Come on, Travis.
You lost him?
He's muted.
He's
muted.
Well,
that's probably the biggest reason why. All right, he gave up. All right, we might try again. Okay. Anyway, so soul, nephesh, appetite.
Yeah. I think Genesis at that point, God breathed into man the breath of life, and he became nefesh chaya, a living soul. We don't have a soul; we are a soul.
Yeah. Right.
At least that's the way I understand it.
Yep. Nefesh chaya, yes. A life, a soul life, a living one who is alive, soul. Good. All right. Psalm 107. Nobody's looked that one up yet, so you guys can all jump there. Psalm 107, 2-3. I've got a Psalm 25 and a Psalm 103. So if anybody wants to be faster in their Bible, sword drills, Baptist, let's go. Psalm 107, 2 through 3. Who's going to read that one?
I got it.
Okay.
Let the redeemed of the Lord say this, those he redeemed from the hand of the foe, those he gathered from the lands, from east and west, from north and south.
Okay, so he's gathering in, right? Redemption is talking about gathering in this group. God scattered people back to himself. And that's been the problem, right? They've been in exile. So they've been scattered. That's the dispersion. And now they're coming back home. That's the goal, is that everybody, well, if you're Judean, everybody's going to revolve around the temple. If you're Northerner, well, you're not coming back anyway. But that would be, they had a different way of looking at it. So the Psalms teach believers
They're
to
not
pray
for rent. They're all occupied, dude. Sorry.
All right. I don't know what that was, but it was good. All right. So the Psalms teach believers to pray for redemption, even when everything seems lost. So we're going to continue to pray these prayers from the Psalms, but we're going to bring them more to us. Okay. So we got, I think oh no, I got a bunch of them. Okay. Psalm 25. So here's David. He's speaking of being redeemed from danger now. This is his personal redemption. So we've been talking about Israel. Now David is talking about that. But I think David's story is a template for all believers, because now, remember, these are songs. So Israel's going to sing David's woes. So 25-22, it's all a prayer, but it's going to end with, what's verse 22?
Redeem Israel, O God, out of all its troubles.
Good. So David's experience is becoming Israel's experience. His redemption is becoming, quote, our, right? The more universal experience.
And this is a case of using pada instead of goel here.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So this is pada. I love that you're looking these up as you go. This is great. Thanks, David. You can always add the little language stuff that I didn't do a whole lot of work with.
Cool.
Fantastic. Psalm 103, 1 through 4. I'm hearing the pages rustling. I mean, scrolling, computer, Psalm 23. Good. Psalm 103, 1 through 4. You guys know this one because you sing it. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh my soul. Somebody read it? You don't need it. If you got a better voice, you can sing it if you want to, but I'm not gonna.
Nice.
Who's reading it?
All right, verse 1. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and do not forget all his benefits. Who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit, who crowns you with steadfast love and mercy.
And I love the progression here. Like, not only is it a great song to sing, but look at that progression. He forgives or pardons all of your iniquities. He heals, who heals all your diseases. He redeems your life from the pit. I assume this is the word abyss here from Genesis as well. He's redeeming from the pit, and he's restoring and honoring. It's bringing back restoration and honor. And so the pit is for sure a picture of death. That's what it always is in this situation. So he's redeeming you or repossessing you from death. So God is doing so much more than merely forgiving a sinner. He's rescuing them from the power of death. I feel like if you leave here, you're going to be like, I feel like Jace just basically said for an hour, he's reclaiming you from death. He's reclaiming you from the dark powers. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to get across so that when we get to the next spot. So redemption isn't just Israel. It's also become personal for them, for sure. So I think truly every believer can say, he's redeemed my life from the pit. And some of us, our pits are really recent, and our death is very obvious to us, the metaphor of that. And some of them just, it's not quite as clear, but it's there on all. So the ultimate enemy in Psalms, I think, or in Scripture, is leading us to the enemy is death. Mm-hmm. So that's the climax of all of this, is the Psalms move beyond Egypt, beyond Babylon, beyond David's enemies, to this concept of death being over all of it. So if you're in like Psalm 49, 7-9 says, no man can by any means redeem his brother or give to God a ransom for him. Remember that word ransom, because we started all this off with Mark, right? That he comes as a ransom, not to serve, not to be served, but to serve and give himself as a ransom for many. So, or give to God a ransom for him. No man can do this, for the redemption of his soul is costly, and he should cease trying forever, that he should live on eternally, that he should not undergo decay. No human being can purchase can redeem another person out of death. You can't pay enough money for this. Power can't save us. Religion can't save us. Nothing can get us out of this situation. Okay. And the last verse, I think, is Psalm 49, 14-15. Somebody else gets that one. It's more death, just in case you were like, I've had enough death. This is one more passage.
Psalm 49.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. My phone's being weird. It's easier in my Bible sometimes. Go away. Sorry, if somebody else gets it faster, go for it. My screen got weird.
Psalm 49, 14-15. Anybody?
Got it. Okay. Like a sheep they are led to the grave, where death will be their shepherd. In the morning the godly will rule over them. Their bodies will rot in the grave, but far from their grand estates. But as for me, God will redeem my life. He will snatch me from the power of the grave.
Yeah, he will receive me. Again, probably one of the more important redemption texts in the Old Testament. So here's death's claim. Death is saying, they're mine, right? I'm the shepherd. Death is the shepherd. Or Sheol. Sheol just means, Carly read it, grave, right? Just the grave. It's the place of the undead. Sheol consumes or eats. And Sheol is just for Riston's sake, is one of those old monsters with a giant maw like Mavet or Moat that opens up its mouth and consumes things. The earth itself, remember in Numbers 15, consumes, reaches up and grabs Korah and pulls down that concept there. So death is their shepherd. Sheol consumes. That's death's claim. And then God's claim, right? God will redeem me. God will receive me. It's the very end of that. Psalm believes that God can do what no human can actually do. This is how the song works anyway. God can redeem from the grave.
What is impossible for man is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And this is why, I mean, I don't want to jump too far into the New Testament, but this is why Jesus, I'm going to say it like this, but I might have to back up when we get to it, but he has to go to the cross. I don't mean he has to necessarily, but he has to, as the literature moves us forward, because he has to be with us in order to get us out of death. I think that's the picture of why he had to be in the grave. Right? I think that's what's happening when he goes into death, right? He descended into hell, we say, right? Which is just, he descended into the grave. He has to die with us so that he can pull us out on the other side. That's the beauty of this whole picture, is that he doesn't just grab us and yank us out. He goes through it with us as the true human.
I think that's why Paul also says without the resurrection, it's all in vain, because the resurrection is the defeat of death. It's like,
right.
So then brings it more to life for me, because before it's like, wait, what about the death on the cross and the atonement for the sin and all that? It's like, anyways, I don't want to go into that.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Mark. I mean, you're talking about different, but Mark 10, right? Again, I don't come to be served, but to serve and give my life a ransom. So it's a ransom, a redemption price. First Peter, knowing that you were not redeemed with perishable things like silver or gold, your feudal way of life inherited from your forefathers, but with precious blood. Okay, back to Carly's thing. Life is in the blood. as of a lamb unblemished and spotless, the blood of Christ. Galatians 4, but when the fullness of time came, God sent forth his son, born of a woman under the law, so that he might redeem those who are under the law, that we might receive adoption as sons, right? This is all this exciting abandonment language. You're now sons. You're orphans, now you're made sons. So the Psalms are moving through this whole Exodus movement. Israel redeemed from Egypt. God can redeem his people from exile. God redeems individuals, David from the pit and Israel from the pit. God redeems his people from death itself on the other side. I mean, that's the big thing. And this is what Paul's fighting against, right? So when you think like we're saved from our sins, yeah, he definitely says that. But the main emphasis, the problem that he's dealing with is the problem of Genesis 3, death, right? That's the problem that he's seeking to reconcile. He's trying to figure out. Paul's like trying to put us all together. What has Jesus done? And he's telling us this long story. He's seeing how it all works. And he's putting it in that same metaphorical language that Israel would have understood very well at that time. So Jesus is the fulfillment of every hope. The desire of nations has come. Fulfillment of all hopes. So it begins with Pharaoh. It ends with Christ rescuing people from the hand of death and bringing them home to God forever. Reclaimed, repossessed from the dark powers.
I think someone asked last week about salvation. I guess that could be because we talked about new creation, but it also could be we're being saved from death. Like that's the other like nice, clear, like that's it right there.
Yeah, these are all synonyms in some sense, right? They're trying to get across a similar idea, even if they have slightly different nuances in what they're going on. So God has forgiven us. He's reconciled us. He's redeemed us. He's saved us. And that's what we've been talking about, right? Jesus saves us. He saves you. Say yes to Jesus, so he'll save your soul, right? All that's what started us on this journey. And I just wanted to focus in on that redemption word, but that's just the economic side. Redemption is normally an economic, coupon. You have to redeem it. But yeah, all of this is all part of it, of what he's trying to do. And I would just say, anytime you see those words, think repossession, think reclamation, right? God is reclaiming what you have allowed something else to take over. You've allowed yourself to be kidnapped, and he's fighting to get you back. That's what's going on here. And of course, we haven't gotten into the New Testament. I mean, I know we did earlier a few weeks ago, but now I want to actually go into the New Testament for next week and show you some of that Paul language, show you Romans 8 in a little bit more detail. Let's look at Luke, because Luke begins and ends with that word redemption. And in the rest of the book, it doesn't have the word redeem in those two places, but there's a ton of little dots that tell you that's exactly what's being talked about. So Luke we'll just look at one gospel. We'll look at like one or two of Paul's letters to try and see it. We can't do everything, but that's my goal. It's 9:15. Let's shut this baby down. You can still talk, of course. I don't mean you have to shut down, but we can stop either Travis or
I think
Sarah.
Luke's gospel is the one I know the least.